Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 6th through 8th grade choral professional learning community on the Georgia Department of Education platform. I'm so elated to have you back. This platform was created with you in mind so that educators may collect, collaborate, and support each other as we navigate through the wonderful world of education. Please be sure to set up your notifications to your liking, and please check back to engage in discussion as often as you wish. There will be tons of information shared and beneficial so that you can be specific to middle and high school choral education. Please share this platform with as many colleagues as you can. The more the merrier, and of course, that will open the doors to more input and more opportunity for us to share and grow. My name is Brandy Dent, and I am your Choral PLC lead for middle and high school in the Godot community. Today's webinar, we will be discussing assessments. Well, what about assessments I'll be addressing are what is an assessment, what type of assessments there are, when should you assess your students, what does an assessment look like, and how the experience has been for me personally. So we'll begin by answering the question of what is an assessment? Well, it's clearly stated as the process of gathering and discussing information from multiple and diverse sources in order to develop a deep understanding of what students know, understand, and can do with their knowledge as a result of their educational experiences. So an assessment is basically checking to see if they learned what the teacher intended for them to learn or what you taught them. Whenever you're trying to get your students to learn, you have to have a guideline. And one of those guidelines that you need to use is your standards. Keep your standards handy whenever you're creating your assessments, but also keep them handy when you create your lessons. You can't create an assessment until you know what you're going to teach. And when you teach what you taught, that's how you test what you taught. So know what you need to teach before anything. Before you teach them, see what they already know before you teach them. If you do a wonderful diagnostic test at the beginning of each unit or each lesson, just to see where their heads are, you'd be surprised that some of the kids may know a little more than you thought they did, and they can actually help you teach. Teach what you intend to teach. When you look at those standards, you pick out a particular standard, a particular thing under that standard. They're listed under your standards as A, B, C, D, or E. You might teach one particular portion one day and another particular portion another day, or you may be able to link them all together to teach one big lesson. But look at those standards and teach what you intended to teach. When you teach said thing, that's when you start assessing the students. And there are different ways of assessing students, and we'll talk about that a little later. In the Georgia Standards of Excellence, you'll find this on the Georgia Department of Educational website. There will be 4 categories. Either the students are performing, creating, responding, or connecting. So when you look at those standards, try to see if you can tie them in with their performance. See if you can get the kids to create their own type of performance. Make sure that your kids can appropriately respond to those categories, and then make sure that they can connect it. In our particular case, most times they're connecting it with real life situations. For example, when you're talking about pitch, connected to science class, connected to sound waves. That's a wonderful way of connecting. When you're talking about a crescendo, connected to an actual piece that you all are discussing or you're working on so that they'll understand, oh, so when I see this in real music, I now know what to do. I'm not just memorizing a symbol. So keep those standards of excellence in mind. I'm going to look at one particular one that I grabbed for the lesson that you'll see today. And this standard states that the students should develop and refine musical techniques and works for presentation. The one that I'm going to focus on today is Part B, where students are able to identify and describe musical vocabulary and symbols representing tempo, meter, dynamics, articulation, and phrasing. However, in the process of that, you'll find that they're also looking at other portions of this particular performance standard. So let's look at the type of assessments there are. We're going to focus on 3. There's a diagnostic assessment where you give the kids before you teach. A formative assessment is one that you'll use while you're teaching. You're asking questions, or you're giving them like a little quick quiz or a ticket out the door. And then you have your summative assessment. After you've taught everything you can, after you've prepped the students, ensured that they're learning, then you give them a summative assessment to make sure that they've actually learned it. A diagnostic assessment is important to find out what the students know at the beginning of each unit. Examine what musical skills and concepts the students already have learned. Diagnostic assessment is important because it establishes a baseline against which future learning is compared. It is easy for teachers to overestimate what students have previously learned. Diagnostic assessment is especially useful in situations where students are new to school, either due to matriculation or transfer. Music teachers often use activities such as auditions or sight reading as a form of diagnostic assessment. Checklists and rating scales are useful measures for assessing music performance at this stage. The next assessment, which is formative, it's used to monitor student progress during instruction and to provide ongoing feedback to the students. The feedback from formative assessment should provide concrete information on how to make improvements towards achieving the learning objectives. Students require information that is specific and individual. They need to know what they have done well and what they have yet to achieve. Formative assessment is best when it is embedded in instruction and is ongoing. During the formative assessment phase, rubrics are an effective assessment tool and a great way of providing useful feedback to students. And then at the end, you have your summative assessments. And this occurs at the conclusion of the learning process to evaluate student achievement on the learning objectives. Data gained from summative assessment is a way to summarize student learning and is usually formal. It is also frequently serves as a baseline to set future goals. Assessment tools that work well with summative assessment of music performance are checklists and rating scales as well. So now that you know what assessments are, and you know where your standards are, and you know how to look at the standards, when should you assess? Before a lesson. Here is a video of how it looks to find out what kids know before a lesson. If you will, get out your electronic device. You can work in pairs. If you do not have an electronic device, we're going to play Kahoot to see what you all remember about dynamics. Give me just a second if I get that loaded. We know technology loves me. Alrighty. So we're talking about dynamics. Let's see what you remember from elementary school, or see what you remember from somebody. Yeah. And please make sure you put your real name, or at least the name that I know you by. Who needs a little more time? All right, not a problem. 0 110.
That's what we were talking about yesterday.
Singing a 0.
Oh, you can't. I'm sorry. We're not gonna talk about it. I was like, wait, what do you mean? But you can't sing a 0.
You can't sing a 0 unless it's a rest.
But then that would be incorrect.
It would be totally wrong. All right, who else needs more time to get in? All right, is your phone loading?
No, it's not. Your phone is slow.
I will tell you this much: if you are connected to the Wi-Fi, it ain't gonna work. Yeah, cut your Wi-Fi off.
Cut your Wi-Fi off.
Alright, we're gonna get started in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If anything, I'm not in, log in with someone. All right, so you're gonna have a few questions. 12 questions actually. What's the symbol in this picture called? All righty. It is a decrescendo. What does pianissimo mean? Is this in your way? Okay.
Oh, I remember these from 5th grade.
Nice job. Nice job. It means very soft. And if you thought it was soft, you're not too far off, because it actually does mean some form of soft.
The bars.
Just very soft.
The bars are not
Nice job. Medium loud is mezzo forte. Mezzo piano is the word. It's the Italian word. Alrighty, I see y'all on a red race here. Fortissimo. Fortissimo. Alright.
Because you're not clicking.
This symbol. Okay, good little bit of you know what pianissimo means. That's awesome. Which word means soft? Good. Doesn't mean forte, y'all. But we'll get there. Gradually louder. Crescendo. Good job. Symbol in this picture. Nice job. Two more. Gradually softer.
Oh, no.
I'm assuming that no meant you picked mezzo piano. All right, which word means loud? Looks like the elementary teacher did good. Symbol in this picture.
Mr. Parsons.
All right, let's look at our top contenders. Come see me. Cassidy.
If you were better.
And Adriana. And Bailey and Maisha. Good job.
We are 12 out of 12. We don't know what are you doing?
All right, you can cut that one. Now I'm going to take the same information that was taught to the kids, and this is how you're going to do a formative assessment. This is during the lesson where you're always assessing them, either individually or as a group. I want you to count and clap according to the dynamics that you see. 1, 2, ready, go. So you should be what? Saw. And tell me the English word. 1 and 2 and count and clap. Try it again. And ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And what is this?
Very loud.
Or very loud. 1 and the 2 and the ready and the clap. Try it again and count and clap. 2 and 3, 4. How should it be?
Very loud.
1 and the 2 and the ready and the clap. How should you be?
Very soft.
Very soft. Try it again and ready, go. Good job. All right. Elizabeth, what dynamic march should you start? Loud. Good job. And how should you end, Sophie? Quiet or soft? All right. One knee and the two knee and the ready and the clap. Good job. All right. From soft to loud. 1, 2, ready and the clap. Good job. 1 and 2 and ready, go.
Very loud.
Very loud. What's the Italian word? Fortissimo. Fortissimo. Imagine getting 2 of these on your report card.
Oh no.
Your mama would be
Very
fortissimo. All right? 1, 2, ready, clap. You should be
Loud.
good job. Last
If your
one.
mom saw one F on
If your mama saw 1F, she'd probably still be loud. Okay, she wouldn't be clapping no rhythm. All right. 1, 2, ready, go. So it should be about soft or piano. Never get confused by this. It doesn't mean grab a piano and throw it in the middle of the music, okay? It means piano or soft. In Italian, it's piano. It means soft. And they use this word because at first they were just talking about how the piano could play loud and soft. They didn't know what they were doing. But we just take it for what it is, okay? Good job. So try to incorporate the rhythms in real music. So go ahead and practice this rhythm. I'll give you a beat or I'll give you a tempo. I'm going to slow it down just a little bit since we got a lot of 16th notes. Go ahead and take a moment to practice the rhythm. Just clapping and counting. Four. It's funny how some of y'all on measure 3 and some of y'all on measure 4, and I heard
Okay,
1 and a 2
I
back
will
to
say
back.
I purposely start later than everyone else so I can kind of hear myself
Okay.
apart from everyone else.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. Because when we go to large group performance evaluation, we can't practice together anyway, so it works. All right, let's count and clap to 8 measures. 1, 2, ready, go.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, now we're going to keep the metronome going, and we're going to add some dynamics after I go back. Close it down. Let's put this one here. And let's put that one there. And let's put this one here. All right. 1, 2, clap and count.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
All right, so if you didn't know what anything was, if you were teaching a 5th grader, you would tell that 5th grader to start clapping. And when you got to measure 3, you should begin clapping
Loud.
And then when you got to measure 5, you're like, I should start clapping
Loud.
and gradually end up
Soft.
Good job. Thank you very much. All right, ready? Let's go.
Yeah.
Line on up. Everybody line up. Everybody line up. All right, you have this
Yeah.
major scale.
Okay.
Ready? And
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
fist bump. Have a good day. Get out.
Excuse me.
All right, you have piano.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And he is singing? Good job. Have a good day. All right. You got a tough one. You ready? Ready? Sing.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
She gradually got. Now that you've seen what a diagnostic and a formative assessment looks like, this is what a summative assessment looks like when the students have to tie in everything together and it's after a lesson is over. Now, we're going to talk about how do you assess your students. Try to use technology-based quizzes and assessments. Kids love pulling out a Chromebook or even their cell phones. If you can do something that'll allow you to do it right then and there, well, it'll grade it for you. That's the easiest way. Who has time to grade anymore? However, you could also use technology in a way of students submitting recordings. There are little devices that you can purchase for little to nothing that allows you to continue teaching, and students can individually go outside your classroom, right outside the door, record themselves, and next. There are also apps that are available that allow you to have students submit their personal recordings. Provide a worksheet that reinforces, not to keep them busy, but if you're teaching quarter notes, give them a worksheet where they're able to draw quarter notes. You want to make sure they can notate. You want to make sure that they can hear what quarter notes sound like. And just make sure that you give them something that reinforces everything that you're teaching at that time. Think, pair, share. Simple as that. Take a moment, take a little break, and make sure that your students can articulate what you've taught. If they're able to talk it out, they're able to keep it in. It goes right into their long-term memory. So give them a moment during class to turn to their neighbor and talk about what they learned, or to express to the class what they've learned, or demonstrate to the class what they've learned. When students are able to literally apply what you've taught them into their own personal experiences or compare it, it's going to stick. And always ask questions during the lesson. You don't ask questions just because little Johnny was falling asleep. Ask questions to check and make sure that they're learning. A lot of times teachers get so caught into hearing their own voices and lecturing that we forget that we have to give the kids a chance to express what we're teaching. So if you're teaching a lesson, teach it. Show them a video, show them how it looks, demonstrate how it sounds, and then let them expound on it. That's the best way to make sure that that information sticks. So how has the experience been in this new world of education? Well, I've learned not to sell myself short. When everything started happening where we were going to be teaching using digital platforms, I immediately saw people taking off. I saw different virtual classrooms. I saw different apps people were using, the virtual performances, and I got frustrated. I got overwhelmed, and I thought like a teacher. We don't teach kids everything they need to know on the first day of school. We take little baby steps. So before you get frustrated and overwhelmed, know that you were capable of learning before. So you're capable of learning something now. It's never too late for you as the educator to learn something. Think about a doctor. If our doctors never learned new technologies or they never learned the different ways to treat their patients, they'd all die. We don't want our kids to die. So find a way to learn something new. Not everything at one time, but try to learn something new every day that will benefit you as a teacher and will benefit your students as the learners. You'll find that it's very rewarding. When I first got my Google Classroom certification level 1, I was excited that I actually learned something. It's also very inspiring when people see that whatever your age, whatever your discipline, you're able to inspire them to learn more. I got inspired by other educators doing great things in the choral field because I'm like, whoa, how'd they do that? And then I learned. I reached out to people. I asked questions. I watched videos. Yes, it's time consuming, but we want to spend that time making ourselves better. That's why we go to conferences. That's why we do seminars. That's why we go to learning environments where we as teachers can learn from other educators. So please know that, yes, it is frustrating and overwhelming, but don't sell yourself short. You're capable of learning. So try your best to do that. The diagnostic assessment that you're going to see now are going to be straight from the Georgia Department of Educational Instructional Resources. Diagnostic samples allow us to give our kids a little pre-test, and then when it's all over, it could also be your summative assessment. It just depends. So just make sure that you check to see what the kids know, and that will guide your teaching. And check your standards, and that will guide your lessons. And check to make sure your students are learning. That will guide your students, and make sure that they can articulate it, and that way they'll be guiding each other. Always, always, always try your best to do your best as an educator. I guarantee it will be worth your while. I'm going to include all of these wonderful resources and websites. There are plenty more available, but these are going to help you as an educator do well. Thank you again for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the lessons included in this video. Have a wonderful rest of your school year. I'll see you next time. Thank you.